Before I begin, I want you to imagine something simple. A world where nations compete not in weapons or wars, but in ideas, innovation, and peace. Today, I'm going to share a story that very few expected. A story about how a country once known for its struggles is quietly becoming a voice of calm in a noisy world. When Cambodia, a nation of resilience, turned to Pakistan not for aid or defense, but for advice on peace, something powerful began to change in Asia. This is not a story of politics. It's a story of transformation, of how a nation can rise by choosing wisdom over warfare and diplomacy over dominance. So stay with me till the end, because what's happening right now in Asia might just redefine how the world understands power. Cambodia's recent diplomatic outreach to Pakistan caught many regional observers off guard. For decades, Cambodia has operated largely within the framework of ASEAN diplomacy and has maintained a careful balance between China's influence and its Southeast Asian alliances. Reaching out to Pakistan, a South Asian nation traditionally associated with security-driven policies, signals a subtle but meaningful shift in how smaller Asian nations are seeking new partners for peace building and conflict management. This outreach reportedly involved discussions on cooperation in regional stability, humanitarian collaboration, and lessons from Pakistan's peacekeeping and reconciliation initiatives. The significance lies not just in the request itself, but in what it represents. Cambodia's decision to engage Pakistan reflects a growing acknowledgement that Islamabad's diplomatic approach has evolved. In recent years, Pakistan has been emphasizing dialogue, multilateralism, and non-interference, themes that align with the priorities of many Southeast Asian states striving to maintain peace amid global power competition. Cambodia, recovering from its own violent past and trying to sustain internal harmony, sees value in Pakistan's transition from conflict to peace engagement. Pakistan's contributions to UN peacekeeping operations and its consistent participation in global humanitarian efforts have quietly built credibility that often goes unnoticed. For Cambodia, which has faced challenges in balancing relations with major powers, Pakistan's relatively independent yet cooperative diplomatic style may offer a useful model. Cambodia's outreach also indicates a diversification in its foreign relations, seeking insight from countries that have managed to operate between great powers without losing their own regional influence. This development also reflects the shifting geopolitical tone of Asia. The continent's new competition is not only about economic strength or military might, but also about which nation can best serve as a bridge for peace and dialogue. Cambodia's recognition of Pakistan's growing reputation in this area suggests that Asian diplomacy is moving toward a more inclusive network of cooperation, where Asia and Southeast Asia may increasingly intersect. Pakistan's willingness to respond positively to Cambodia's request further reinforces the image of a country seeking constructive engagement over confrontation. This diplomatic gesture, though quiet, hints at the possibility of a new narrative emerging, one where Pakistan's experience in managing regional complexity becomes a resource for others navigating their own peace journeys. Over the past decade, Pakistan's diplomatic identity has undergone a gradual but notable transformation. Traditionally viewed through the prism of its military and security apparatus, the country is now positioning itself as a stabilizing actor that prioritizes regional cooperation, humanitarian engagement, and long-term stability. This shift did not happen overnight. It emerged from a complex mix of necessity, experience, and evolving national priorities. After years of dealing with the repercussions of conflict and extremism, Pakistan's policymakers recognized that sustainable influence in Asia would come not from hard power, but from peace-oriented diplomacy. This new approach has taken form in several ways. Pakistan's engagement in multilateral forums now emphasizes dialogue, trade connectivity, and climate cooperation rather than confrontation. The concept of stability diplomacy has become central to its foreign policy narrative, signaling a preference for partnership over rivalry. Pakistan's efforts to facilitate communication between rival regional actors and its consistent participation in global peacekeeping missions are part of this broader evolution. It has also invested in humanitarian diplomacy, supporting refugees, promoting education initiatives, and responding to natural disasters, reflecting a softer, people-centered image. The phrase, "peace is the new power," captures the spirit of this transition. Rather than projecting influence through coercion, Pakistan is trying to lead by example, advocating for dialogue as a strength rather than a weakness. Its leadership in discussions around regional connectivity projects, such as the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC, and transnational energy routes, reinforces the belief that trade and shared economic growth can be tools for peace. By focusing on development-oriented cooperation, Pakistan seeks to redefine what power means in the modern Asian context. This diplomatic reorientation also serves a strategic purpose. A more stable region benefits Pakistan's own economy, security, and international standing. By presenting itself as a constructive player rather than a contentious one, Pakistan is opening new doors of engagement with Southeast Asia, the Middle East, and Central Asia. This aligns with the global shift toward nations that contribute to conflict prevention and dialogue facilitation rather than confrontation. While challenges persist, Pakistan's attempt to move from a security-first mindset to a stability-centered one marks an important evolution in its international behavior. It reflects a growing awareness that the future of global influence will belong to countries capable of resolving conflicts, not fueling them. A realization that is shaping Pakistan's emerging identity as an advocate of peace in Asia. Pakistan's involvement in the Afghan and Middle Eastern dialogues marks a significant phase in its diplomatic evolution, reflecting a more pragmatic and peace-oriented foreign policy. For decades, Pakistan's role in Afghanistan was often seen through the security lens, influenced by geopolitical rivalries and border concerns. However, in recent years, Islamabad has gradually shifted toward a mediator's stance, supporting dialogue among Afghan factions and working with international stakeholders to promote stability. This transition is part of Pakistan's realization that a peaceful Afghanistan is essential not only for regional security, but also for its own economic and social progress. The country has used diplomatic channels to encourage inclusive governance and humanitarian cooperation, emphasizing that lasting peace cannot come from force, but through mutual respect and negotiation. In the Middle East, Pakistan has maintained a careful and balanced approach amid complex rivalries. Whether in relations between Saudi Arabia and Iran or during the broader Gulf tensions, Pakistan has often chosen to act as a bridge rather than a participant in disputes. By maintaining diplomatic neutrality and encouraging peaceful dialogue between Muslim-majority nations, it has reinforced its image as a responsible actor seeking unity and cooperation in the Islamic world. Pakistan's Foreign Office has also been active in humanitarian diplomacy, offering support to affected regions and advocating for the protection of civilians in conflict zones, reflecting an emerging identity that values peace through empathy. What stands out in both regions is Pakistan's quiet behind-the-scenes engagement rather than public confrontation. The country's diplomats and special envoys have worked discreetly to facilitate conversations and reduce tensions, relying on shared cultural and historical ties to build trust. These efforts have not always been highlighted in global media, but have contributed to a more stable perception of Pakistan as a nation capable of contributing to conflict resolution rather than exacerbating it. This approach aligns with a broader transformation in Pakistan's strategic outlook, from being a frontline state to becoming a dialogue partner. Its foreign policy increasingly emphasizes cooperation, regional connectivity, and stability as tools of influence. Through consistent participation in peace talks, humanitarian initiatives, and multilateral platforms, Pakistan is positioning itself as a constructive mediator in two of the most volatile regions of the world, demonstrating that its emerging diplomatic strength lies not in confrontation, but in communication. CPEC, the China-Pakistan Economic Sea Corridor, often described as the backbone of regional connectivity, has evolved beyond its original purpose of economic cooperation. Initially designed as a trade and infrastructure project under China, an engagement and environmental leadership. This shift reflects Pakistan's understanding that in the 21st century, influence is not measured only by military or economic strength, but by the ability to inspire, cooperate, and contribute positively to global issues. Through a renewed focus on people-to-people connections and international collaboration, Pakistan is redefining its place in the Asian peace framework. One of the most visible areas of change is education and cultural exchange. Pakistani universities and research institutions have increased their partnerships with counterparts in Europe, the Middle East, and East Asia, allowing students and scholars to serve as ambassadors of a modern, progressive Pakistan. Cultural diplomacy, including art exhibitions, film collaborations, and heritage preservation projects, has also played a role in softening perceptions and building bridges beyond politics. Such initiatives reflect an effort to replace confrontation with conversation and misunderstanding with mutual respect. Pakistan's humanitarian record further strengthens this new image. The country's consistent support for refugees, particularly Afghan and Rohingya communities, has demonstrated a moral commitment that resonates internationally. Similarly, Pakistan's active participation in United Nations peacekeeping missions across Africa and the Middle East highlights its contribution to global peace efforts. These missions showcase Pakistani soldiers and medical teams working not as fighters, but as protectors and rebuilders, embodying the very essence of peace service. Another significant dimension of Pakistan's soft power rise is its leadership in climate diplomacy. Being one of the countries most affected by climate change, Pakistan has taken an active role in global environmental discussions. Its initiatives in reforestation, water management, and renewable energy cooperation have earned recognition from international organizations. By turning climate vulnerability into a platform for global collaboration, Pakistan is presenting itself as a responsible partner working toward the collective good of the planet. Through these multidimensional efforts, education, culture, humanitarianism, and sustainability, Pakistan is demonstrating that peace can be promoted through influence, not intimidation. Its evolving soft power strategy is helping the nation reshape its global reputation, allowing it to emerge not only as a regional player, but as a contributor to global harmony. While Pakistan's peace-focused diplomacy is gradually gaining international attention, it continues to face skepticism rooted in its complex regional history and domestic challenges. The global reception of Pakistan's emerging role as a peace facilitator remains mixed. Some nations acknowledge its evolving foreign policy and contribution to stability, while others remain cautious, shaped by decades of political narratives and past conflicts. This dual perception highlights of the progress Pakistan has made and the work that still lies ahead to establish consistent credibility on the world stage. One of the reasons for the lingering doubt is Pakistan's long association with regional tensions, particularly in South Asia. Despite recent diplomatic shifts, old perceptions take time to change. Many observers continue to evaluate Pakistan's present intentions through the lens of its historical rivalries and security-oriented policies. However, the country's increasing participation in international peacekeeping, humanitarian missions, and multilateral cooperation offers a counter-narrative, one that is slowly redefining how Pakistan is viewed by the global community. Cambodia's recognition of Pakistan's diplomatic potential is a significant indicator of changing attitudes. For a Southeast Asian nation with its own experience in post-conflict recovery to seek Pakistan's insights on peace building reflects a growing trust in Islamabad's evolving, stability-oriented approach. It also symbolizes Asia's quiet shift toward valuing dialogue and cooperation over bloc politics. Pakistan's ability to gain such acknowledgement outside its immediate neighborhood suggests that its message of peace is beginning to resonate beyond South Asia's political boundaries. However, this journey is not without obstacles. Pakistan still faces internal governance issues, economic pressures, and geopolitical complexities that can undermine its peace narrative if not addressed consistently. To maintain credibility as a peace power, it must demonstrate stability at home, transparency in its policies, and continuity in its diplomatic behavior. Sustained engagement, open communication, and inclusive policymaking will be essential to bridge the gap between perception and reality. Despite these hurdles, the global environment today is more open to nations that promote cooperation rather than competition. As power dynamics shift across Asia, there is space for countries like Pakistan to present themselves as mediators and bridge builders. Cambodia's outreach serves as both validation and encouragement, showing that Pakistan's evolving peace diplomacy, if pursued with persistence and sincerity, can indeed reshape its global identity and strengthen its position as an emerging advocate of peace in the Asian century. In conclusion, what we are witnessing today is not just a shift in Pakistan's diplomacy, but a transformation in its identity. From a nation often defined by conflict, Pakistan is gradually becoming a country that speaks the language of cooperation, trade, and peace. Cambodia's surprising outreach is more than a diplomatic gesture. It is a recognition that Pakistan's evolving role in Asia carries potential far beyond its borders. By promoting dialogue over division and stability over struggle, Pakistan is showing that real power in the 21st century comes not from control, but from connection. The journey ahead will not be easy. Every new beginning faces resistance. Every step toward peace demands patience. But if Pakistan continues to build bridges, foster trust, and act with consistency, it can become a cornerstone of Asia's new peace architecture. A nation that inspires others to believe in diplomacy, not dominance. To everyone listening, may this message remind us that even in uncertain times, peace remains the most powerful force on earth. When nations choose understanding over hostility, they do not just secure borders, they secure the future. Thank you for your time, for your openness, and for your belief in the idea that change begins with dialogue. Wishing peace, progress, and good fortune to all. May the path ahead lead not to division, but to shared hope and lasting harmony.